Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Hello and welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. I am so excited about gold, precious metals generally. You guys know that I've made videos about the coming bull market in gold and in the miners as well. But people want to know, where is this going? What is the industry going to look like, and where are the opportunities in the mining sector? So I have definitely an expert and somebody with a fantastic track record in the gold miners, and that is Mr. Brian Slusarchuk. And he is the president and director of Tourmaline Metals Corp., as well as the former co-founder and former president and director of the highly successful, we'll talk about this, K92 Mining Inc. So Brian, welcome to Looking at the Markets, sir.
David, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I know you've had such success in the metals and in the financing, particularly, of the metals industry. In fact, you were part of the team that bought an asset for a couple $1 million and turned it into a monstrous gold mining company. Of course, I'm talking about K92 Mining Inc., which I learned about this from futuremoneytrends.com. At well below $1, and then later from wealthresearchgroup.com. I know that people doubled their money in literally 2 to 3 weeks. Now, for those who don't know about the incredible deal that you were able to pull off, could you please explain the story from the beginning?
Absolutely, David. K92 has been just a wonderful success for early investors. It's trading today near all-time highs, essentially right at all-time highs. The market capitalization of the company is now approaching $600 million. And this all started out with a very timely purchase. I was one of the co-founders of K92. I was president and director from inception up through to positive cash flow operations. We purchased that asset at the real bottom, when the bear market in gold was in full swing and nobody wanted gold equities. We purchased the asset for $2 million cash and some future contingency payments from Barrick Gold. Barrick was going through an asset liquidation around the world. They were getting rid of non-core assets. And we looked at that asset, which is in Papua New Guinea, and we believed that we would be able to unlock the value there in a way that had never really been done before. We believed that we could restart production at the mine that had been developed, but that also there was huge exploration potential around that mine area. And it was the exploration success that really drove value for shareholders. We discovered an area of the property called the Cora North Extension, and post that, we have just run full steam ahead, bringing Cora North into production, really increasing that production rate at a phenomenal level of growth. The real credit on the ground there goes to the current CEO, a fellow named John Lewins, who has just done a spectacular job at growing the resource, growing the production profile. And even though this is still very much a development and expansion situation, it was one of the lowest cost gold producers in the world last year. And that's really a testament to John and his team. You know, I was very fortunate to be involved there with a great group of mining entrepreneurs, and I'll be happy when we get into the Tourmaline metal story to let you know that a few of these guys from K92, including John Lewins, including Mark Eaton, including Doug Kerwin, who was there from an early stage, have become involved in Tourmaline. And as we get into the Tourmaline situation, again, a high-grade gold situation, I'll bring you up to speed on the team there and what we're doing.
Yeah. And by the way, for people who are interested in Tourmaline metals, that is a website people should definitely visit. That would be tourmalinemetals.com. I want people to visit that. And if they're interested in checking out the company and the stock, it is trading right now on the TSXV Canadian Exchange, ticker symbol TBX. And I want to talk about these geological formations. That's one of the reasons I asked you to come on here, is to explain this exciting possibility with this company and with this particular geological formation. They're called Tourmaline breccias. And why would resource investors want to familiarize themselves with this?
You know, David, there's a great slide in the Tourmaline Metals presentation, and it's a very simple slide. And the slide states Tourmaline breccias, because grade is king. And what I've found in my career is that whether the gold market is difficult, whether it's in a bull phase, whatever the gold market is doing doesn't matter as much when you have exceptionally high grades. Grades really can carry the day. And my belief, due to all of the monetary, fiscal, geopolitical reasons that you and your listeners well know of, I believe that gold is going to enter just an explosive growth phase. However, if that takes longer than we anticipate, if it moves more slowly out of what was a prolonged bear market, it's very comforting to know that we have the potential for exceptional grades. And in fact, that was part of the K92 success. When the gold market was beat up, it was difficult, gold price wasn't where we believed it would be, it didn't matter as much to us at K92 because our production numbers were coming in at all-in sustaining costs below $700 an ounce in many instances. So gold at $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 per ounce was still very attractive. And what the K92 experience made me, or confirmed my belief in, was that grade is king. And what we've done with Tourmaline is we've spent 2 years searching out very high grade opportunities. And the technical team, led by a fellow named Rohan Wolf, who's a PhD geologist, the technical team went out and looked for exceptional high grade situations that had the potential to host high grade. They looked throughout South America, where they've all had individually 20 plus years of experience. And what they came to was the fact that many of these situations were Tourmaline breccias. And that this was not only a type of geological setting that could host incredibly high grades, but it was also a setting that was overlooked in general by the mining companies out there, by the exploration and development companies out there. And the technical team spent 2 years starting off with 100 plus projects to look at, narrowing that down to dozens, and finally choosing just a handful, 2 at the moment, potentially 3 in the coming months, situations that had the potential for high grades. Now, we just announced our first 10 drill hole assays, and they very much confirmed what the technical team believed after evaluating these projects, and that is that there is potential for exceptional grade in the system. Our first 10 assays included multiple wide cuts of high-grade gold. We had core length intersections such as 37 meters at 8.7 grams per ton gold equivalent, 85 meters at 6.6 grams per ton gold equivalent, and that included 22 meters at 9.5. You can take a look at the news release for full details and, of course, our filings on CEDAR, but this is just an exceptional start to the drill program, and that's at our first project, which is called the San Francisco project in San Juan, a very mining-friendly jurisdiction of Argentina.
And again, if people want more information, that's tourmalinametals.com. I want to talk about the gold price and the huge opportunity here. This year, we've seen gold go from $11.80 per ounce to $15.50, a 6-year high. Mining stocks are now forming a bottom. I understand you're capitalizing on these trends with this new company. So can you tell us about the business model of Tourmaline Metals?
Absolutely, David. Tourmaline Metals was purpose-formed to go out, search for assets that had the potential to host very high grades. We have become involved in 2 projects initially. As I mentioned, the San Francisco project, which is in San Juan, Argentina. This is an area that's just a real hotbed of mining activity with multiple mines in production in the region. A lot going on the ground in terms of exploration. San Francisco is where we've been doing a whole lot of work to date. And San Francisco is where we've just released these initial drill holes with exceptional gold grades. The second project that we have in the midst is the project called Tourmaline itself, which is in Peru. Again, same geology, and we believe the project has the potential to host exceptional grades. What's interesting there is, in addition to the potential for gold, we believe, based on some past records and activity on the site, that there's potential for exceptionally high grades of copper. But make no mistake about it, the focus right now is on the project San Francisco, where these big gold numbers have now come from. What we're doing on site, David, in addition to having announced these initial high grades through our drilling efforts, is we're identifying and mapping and evaluating what we've now seen as a cluster of these breccias. So to date, in this area, there are more than 60 of these breccias. We're in the process of evaluating these, seeing which ones have the biggest potential, and we'll be moving forward on the ground, not only on this original breccia that we've started to drill, but on other breccias. It's a cluster of breccias all within the same property. And for your listeners, if you want to visualize how these things look, and I think this gives a helpful indication as to why they've been overlooked, the model is like an inverted carrot, relatively narrow right at the surface, but the model shows that these things can really flare out as you go deeper. Our initial drilling has shown or indicated that this original breccia looks to be doing exactly that. We'll have to do more follow-up to actually get a feel for the geometry in more detail and with more precision. But to date, it's behaving exactly as we would wish. So in the past, small private prospectors, etc., would see a relatively small surface expression, and without modern drilling, without the tools that modern exploration provides, would not know that these things are getting larger. And the presentation does a great job of explaining it visually. But as we describe within it, this original breccia has the room to grow. The breccia at just 50 meters of depth is already twice the size of the surface exposure. So there's real opportunity here, not only to show the high grades that we've recently released, but we believe there's a real opportunity to build size as we conduct further exploration and further work on the property.
Yeah. So for people who want to look into this company and the opportunity here, what are the catalysts as you see it near term, and how is the financial position of the Treasury?
So out of the gate, just to let you know, this is a new company. We just started to trade. It reminds me, doing interviews like this, of doing interviews at the same early stage when we started K92 mining, which has become a big success for everybody that invested. The catalyst for the company, number one, identify that these breccias can host high-grade gold. Check mark on that, David, because we've now put out drill results showing big cuts of high-grade gold, along with some very nice silver, incidentally. Step two is to identify, map, and start to evaluate and prioritize other breccias within this cluster. That's ongoing, and I would anticipate this company to have a lot of news flow in the coming months as to that field work at the San Francisco project. We've now shown that high-grade gold can exist here. We not only want to follow up on that first round of drilling in the original breccia, but we want to start to evaluate and move these other breccias toward drilling. As this is a new company, we're quite well funded. We completed a financing for $7 million prior to going public. So as of now, we're in the neighborhood of zero debt, $6 million in cash, and we're very well funded to not only continue drilling at the original breccia, but start to look at these other breccias. So it's a good situation in that the company has a strong balance sheet to go test this property properly. And you'll be able to see in our filings, we have just under 49 million shares issued, zero warrants, again, zero debt. So you've got a fully diluted share picture of 53 million, and that includes the stock options. So tight structure. We had nice institutional adoption of this situation early, and our goal over the coming months is to get out, tell this story. These are projects that will be new to investors. It's a new exploration paradigm in terms of the type of geology that we're looking at. This has been very overlooked. We're in mining-friendly jurisdictions, and we've got an incredible team of guys with a track record of wealth creation in the sector.
So we're talking about an opportunity here, no debt, plenty of cash. You're sitting on a type of geological formation that's largely overlooked by other miners, and grade is king. And we're looking at the potential for some high grade gold here. And shareholders are basically sitting on a gold mine here. And this is a newly listed stock on the TSXV, and it is TBX. That is a ticker symbol once again. Wanted to ask about the mergers and acquisitions, M&A activity in the sector. This is a positive sign as I see it, such as Kirkland Lake buying Detour Continental Gold, acquired by Zijin.
After a difficult bear market in the gold space, things are definitely heating up. All of a sudden, there's capital available to companies at the exploration stage up through development and production. And the M&A activity has just been explosive as of late. over the past few weeks, we've seen multiple transactions occurring. And what that indicates to me is that smart money, i.e. the larger mining companies with good balance sheets, realize that some of these smaller entities are undervalued, and they're starting to acquire them. Now, a goal of a company like Tourmaline Metals is this. We're sitting on something that we've now shown is very high grade. We've got high grades of gold. We had some great silver grades in the mix. We're exploration stage, but we've now put out 10 very good drill holes. We want to advance this as fast as possible in these early days of what we see as a bull market for the gold miners. We want to advance it, and by the time the activity is so frothy out there that transactions are going on all over the place, we want to have this as advanced as possible. So we want to figure out what we have on the ground, how large is it, is there potential to move this into production, and if so, how? There are a lot of questions to be answered anytime you start afresh on a new mining project. And I always caution people, in the gold business, there are no shortages of risks. And I encourage people to understand that the mining business has risk. One of the big risks is commodity risk, and gold can go lower. Now, my personal belief is that we're just in a situation that's a tinderbox for gold. The geopolitical, monetary, and fiscal environment out there all leads me to believe the upside in gold will be swift, it will be explosive, and it will provide the potential for exceptional returns. So, if you're going to enter the gold space and you want to get exposure to equities, gold equities traditionally outperform bullion itself in gold bull markets, do your homework, take a look at the track record of the management teams, dive into the filings on CEDAR, take a look at the websites. Again, our website, tourmalinemetals.com, has a lot of information about the team, the projects, etc. And take in as much information as you can through discussions such as this. It's an exciting time, David, to be involved in the gold space.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that. There are no guarantees. There's always risk in any investment. Everybody needs to make sure they do their own research, conduct their own due diligence. However, I see this as a potential big winner, no debt, plenty of cash, sitting on geological formations that are overlooked and potentially high grade, grade is king, metals, precious metals, gold especially. Possible, I imagine this could possibly be one of those double baggers, triple baggers, 10x, you never know. I've seen them happen before, and I believe this could be one of them. So if people want to reach out to the company, learn more about it, what is the best way to do that?
Definitely on the website at tourmalinemetals.com. You can check out the website, form some questions, send us a note, info@tourmalinemetals.com. We'll be back to you quickly. And I think it's important, like you just did, David, to point out there's always risk in investment. Be cautious of the risks. Do your homework. And at the same time, I think it's just so important to back management teams that have had good track records. I told people early days in the K92 situation that I believe the upside was immense, but that there were always going to be risks in the sector. People that invested there were and have been and continue to be handsomely rewarded. And I think that we're on the cusp of something here that can be exciting for many of the same reasons, including the high-grade theme that's out there. So drop us an email, take a look at the website. Our telephone number's there, and we look forward to talking with people about this. I think it's going to just get more and more exciting, and we've got a lot of work planned in the field to start off 2020.
People who invested at the right time in K2 Mining Inc. They did incredibly well, and I believe this could be just as good or even better. President and director of Tourmaline Metals Corp. And former co-founder and former president and director of the highly successful K92 Mining Inc., Mr. Brian Slusarchuk, thank you so much for joining Looking at the Markets. We'll have to have you back again soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David.